thank you for doing this.
Sure.
Thank you for talking to us and participating to the conversation of what we're trying to do. If you don't mind, could you give us a quick introduction so that everybody knows who you are?
Sure. My name's Pat Ahearne. I'm ex-Major League Baseball pitcher, played professionally for about 17 years, pitched in the College World Series, and then consequently traveled around as a player and a coach to different countries, coaching, playing over in Europe, over in the Far East, over with Hong Kong and Taiwan. Played a few years of winter ball down in South America and Venezuelan League. So my exposure to the game has been pretty excellent. You know, got to see a lot of the world, got to experience different cultures and see how they go about their business through baseball. So it's been quite rewarding, actually.
So when did you start playing?
Formally organized, I guess, would have been in Little League, probably about 8 years old, I guess. Started pitching when I was 10 in Little League, and then, you know, just traveled up through that system, played in high school, went to a junior college, went from there to Division I, and then got drafted out of Pepperdine.
Nice college, that beautiful campus.
It was not a challenge.
No, it's like, I don't know how. I went to LMU, so I definitely, yeah. When the beach is right there, it's so hard to go to school, man.
Oh, you went to Loyola Marymount?
Yeah, I did, for grad school.
Okay. Well, see, I lived right around the corner from there. I lived on 82nd Street.
Oh yeah, that's where. Yeah.
Yeah, I lived
Absolutely.
right on the other side of Lincoln on 82nd Street.
That's so funny. I used to live right off of Calvert Boulevard and what was the cross street? Centennial.
Yeah, yeah. Nice.
That is so funny. That's awesome. Small world. Yeah, I love going. LMU, talking about beautiful campus too. It's a gorgeous campus. And it was hard to go to school when it's always sunny and you're right by the beach. It's like, do I go to school or do I go swim?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, you know, and it was funny. My aunt actually was the first female athlete to get a scholarship to Loyola Marymount for athletics. She played tennis there, and a couple of years back, she was actually inducted into the Sports Hall of Fame at LMU. And
oh wow!
It was a little bit funny coming there, and you know, her nephew played for the rival school, so I kind of kept my head down for the whole ceremony and just, you know, enjoyed having her get her accolades and everything. But it was pretty fun.
That's fantastic. What sport did she play?
She played tennis.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right.
Lost my brain for a second. It's COVID brain. I just blame COVID for it.
Yeah. That's easy thing. That's fair.
Yeah. So when you started pitching, did you have like they do today, like some private coaching for every pitch, or did you just take a ball and start throwing?
No, I mean, I wasn't. I suppose I wasn't necessarily at the time in history where that was, you know, a thing. I think so. I lived, when I was playing Little League, basically, I lived in New Mexico, and it was just, you know, young kids playing and the dads come out and coach. And so, you know, my first pitching coach was one of the dads, a guy named Bill Chapp, and he was, you know, really good with us, and it was fun playing. And I always call him my very first pitching coach, and he enjoys that title definitely. So, you know, it was just, you know, come to practice and practice pitching a little bit, and okay, you're on the job, go for it. And then halfway through high school, moved out to California, and my high school team was actually quite good. Well, you might know St. Bernard High School. We're just I used to sit and watch all the jumbo jets taking off from LAX right outside the window during English class. So we were, you know, a 9-iron to the runway from our high school. So when I got there, though, I mean, we had a really good head coach, and we had an excellent pitching coach, and we had some success. I mean, we had myself and our shortstop. We played. He played in the big leagues for quite a while. I had a little bit of time. Our first baseman, actually, he went to Pepperdine out of high school. I went to a junior college and then followed him over there. So he got drafted by the Dodgers and got up to AAA. So I mean, we had a pretty solid squad, and of course our coaching staff was excellent. And then from there, going to junior college and following that along. And I think one of my other pitching coaches, nobody that, you know, wasn't already formally with the team, but one of my other quote unquote pitching coaches was at the time, well, I was, you know, living in LA in the late 80s. So that was right when the Dodgers won it the last time. And they had a guy that threw 59 scoreless innings consecutive. Hershiser was pitching for the Dodgers at the time. So I had a pitching motion that was similar. And then there was one day at junior college, I had just joined junior college, and our coach was not happy, and he was airing us out a little bit. And one of the things he said was, you know, don't you guys watch baseball on TV, watch how the best in the game go about their business? And so I kind of, you know, he said it with a little more volume than I just did, but I kind of took it to heart. And, you know, again, it being the late 80s in LA, turned on the Dodger game, and my favorite pitcher was Hershiser, and actually just basically threw a tape in the VCR, recorded games that he was pitching, and then just imitated him. And so it became a thing, and I started having some success with it. And then when I got to Pepperdine and we went all the way in the College World Series, they made a big story of it and had a comparison side by side on TV, because, you know, at Pepperdine we had basically Dodgers colors, the blue at the time, and then you know, because I had that whole Hershiser connection following me, they let me wear number 55 and wear his same jersey number. So it was really fun. And then, you know, because of all of the attention and everything, I actually got to meet him and pal around with him a little bit. So it was like, oh my God, my idol, I'm hanging out with the guy. This is beyond belief. So it was really great.
That
and then, so initially, you know, like to circle back to your question, all of my pitching coaches essentially were just part of the team. I never actually had to go or went outside of it to, you know, get private lessons or train any more than that. And you know, I used the old VCR, and I think whenever I had any spare moment as a kid, I was throwing something. So whether it be just grab a ball and go find a brick wall and see how many times I can hit that brick, or, you know, again, imitating my favorite pitcher from the Dodgers at the time. And, you know, it came to working out like that. And then actually the closest thing I would say is that when I first signed, my agent had a relationship with Tom House. So he put me in touch with Tom House, and for most of my pitching career, I would go and train with him in the off season. So he had a place down in San Diego. So I'd come home for the off season and then drive down, you know, once a week or something and do a workout with him and learn whatever I could, and, you know, kind of keep in touch with him during the season, seeing how things were progressing. And so it was fun. I mean, I was all proud of myself sometimes when I'd go out for the season and I'd be working on something during the season, say I was in A-ball or AA or something, and then I would come back and tell Tom, I say, hey, Tom, I was doing X and Y and Z. And he's like, well, interestingly enough, on our high-speed cameras and computer models, that move you're doing is helpful to, you know, better mechanics, protecting your arm, and throwing with a little more velocity and stuff like that. So it was a good relationship with him that turned out to span over 20 some years, and ended up actually working for him during the time that the Indian players, Rinku and Dinesh from $1 Million Arm, they came out with Tom House, and I was, there with him working, and got to, train those guys a little bit and be part of that whole thing too. So it was really fun. And now Rinku's a professional wrestler. So I
saw that. You're right.
It's so fun. He's massive. And it's like, I have pictures with him when he first came at 19 years old to the States to learn baseball. And, he's 170 pounds maybe. And now he's just this, hulking beast
Huge.
that's throwing guys around the ring and then giving them the namaste right afterwards. So it's cool. It's very cool.
Well, he's polite, he wants to make sure that, he knocks him down and then to say, didn't mean to.
Oh, I know. See, and I as a matter of fact, here's the connection. I just finished my cup of Darjeeling tea from India. So I had the whole theme in mind.
So that must have been fun when they made the movie, huh?
Yeah, the movie was really good. It was I didn't have the opportunity to go to India during that time. So, well, from what I saw, that whole scene and the stories that JB and all the boys told me, and because all the characters in the movie, Ray Poitevin, he would come around quite a bit. The scout that was played by Alan Arkin, and then JB, the John Hamm character, he was always there too. He's a good guy, and so I met all those guys, and then seeing the movie, the stories they told, the part where they were in India was fairly accurate, I understand, and then the events that went up to them getting signed and all the rest of the movie when they were out in at SC, it was pretty accurate. I mean, they Hollywooded it up a little bit for Disney, but it wasn't too far off from how it went down, so it was fun to watch, actually. Very cool.
Yeah, actually, I met JB here in Vegas on something else, so that was kind of funny. Well, you said something very key that I noticed that a lot of kids do not do today, and not just in baseball, in all sports. They don't watch.
I suppose not. I mean, I guess the one advantage of that is that video game technology has gotten so much better that, if they're playing and they see a certain hitter swing or a pitcher throw, maybe they could imitate that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how. You may have heard different. I know when I was coaching the high school here in New York, I mean, there's a lot of guys that would watch games. So, I don't know. I don't know how how they watch it. If it's it's one thing to watch as a fan, and another thing to watch as a I don't know what the word for it is, not a colleague, but somebody, who's studying that sort of thing. I mean, the equivalent I can think of is if I'm watching, say, a dance show, and I'm watching it because I like dance and I like the music, or if I'm watching it as a choreographer or a professional dancer or an aspiring person who's looking at the moves and trying to get something going with that. So.
No,
anyways, there's a lot of Yankees fans around here, so I'm kind of, don't get me started on the New York Yankees. I don't need to go into that. I'm a Dodger fan from birth, so I mean, probably my first memory of watching baseball on TV was Bob Welch strikes out Reggie Jackson in the 1977 World Series. It was 77 or 78, I forget which year, but you know, I'm like a 7 or 8 year old, and I'm just like screaming, yelling, like, yeah. And it was funny because I actually went on YouTube and found the clip of Bob Welch strikes out Reggie Jackson in the World Series. And man, that was an epic at bat too. I mean, it was a battle. It was so awesome. It was just fun, you know, so. And
I know I've been kind of doing that during this COVID thing. I mean, kind of going back to games that I watched when I was a kid, and I play them, or even if it's like a long highlight or something, and just immediately brings back memories of when I was like 7 or 8 years old watching it. Oh my God, it's so like vivid.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I can still remember what it tasted like when I was growing up.
Oh yeah, I mean it's those moments that you just know. I mean, a lot of these baseball moments. The first one, of course, that comes to mind is last time my team won it all. I was sitting in my granddad's house in LA because he had a big screen TV, and I was watching Game 1 of the '88 series. And at that moment, my granddad was in the other room when Kirk Gibson hits the home run, and I'm just jumping up and down, I'm like, oh my God! I'm calling him, and you got to see this. And there's one story from that really, it makes me laugh every time, because the day after the Kirk Gibson home run, I was watching the news, and the sportscaster on that particular local news station, he comes on, and he's standing there, and in the background is the Kirk Gibson home run playing. And he says, you know, a lot of people are going to say that they were there at Dodger Stadium for the Kirk Gibson Game 1 home run. And then they showed the clip, and right as the ball is going into the stands at Dodger Stadium, you know, they have the grandstand, the outfield, and then that awning that hangs over it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that space there. And the guy goes, a lot of people are going to say they were there for this home run, but not this guy. And he freeze frame, and right as the ball's landing in the stands, through the opening in the awning, you see somebody's brake lights come on. Like, we left early and missed one of the most historic World Series home runs in baseball history. We were in the parking lot for that. Like, oh, you poor guy. So
how many times? Well, it was what, Eckersley, right? Was pitching.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that changed that series for sure.
Oh yeah.
I'm a Mets fan, so I'm still mad at '88.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, I understand. I mean, you know, it's.
Could be worse.
I imagine that you're in probably as a worse a mood nowadays, though. So. I'll tell you what, though. One thing too, did you bring up Eckersley? Is that you know, my wife, she's from New England, so she's a Red Sox fan, and so, you know, up until a couple of years ago when they faced off in the World Series, it was fun because we would be able to, you know, throw on the MLB and watch the West Coast game you know, watch the East Coast game, and then at 10 o'clock and watch the Dodgers play. So. So I kind of got adopted as my American League team by the Red Sox, and we watched the local, you know, Nesson broadcasts, and Eckersley is one of the announcers, and he's great. He's so much fun to listen to because he's just, you know, I'm a Hall of Famer. I don't care. I'm calling the game. I'm loving it, and you know, and he knows his stuff too, definitely. So, and then now, you know, we were all set. You know. She and her brother are now just a little bit disappointed that Mookie is now a Dodger. So I was all excited to have Mookie Betts playing for the Dodgers, and now we don't get to watch a game. So, c'est la vie, right?
Well, we'll find out if that was a good idea. I think for the Red Sox, it might have been a good idea in the long term, but who knows? We'll see.
Maybe.
I don't know. I mean, you never know. I wish if we all can be general managers from our couches, right? It's so easy to do when you just can't say, yell, and scream and change your mind 27 times.
Sure.
So what would you suggest to kids these days who start, you know, a lot of pitchers, former players have come out and said repeatedly that kids shouldn't be throwing certain pitches until later. Where do you stand with that? Like curveball, sliders?
Well, it's one of the analogies I like to give with pitchers, especially. I mean, because that's I'm a pitcher, so I deal with those guys mostly. Is my analogy is to say that, you know, I liken it to learning how to drive a car, and pitching in a game from a full-size 60-foot 6 inches mound is the driving equivalent of getting on the freeway and going 75 miles an hour. So if you are new to pitching, we're gonna teach you how to parallel park. We're gonna teach you how to drive on empty streets. We're gonna ease you into it versus, you know, let's take you out and give you the most complex, the most pressure-filled task to do, which, you know, it's hard to avoid because it's trial by fire. I mean, playing baseball is getting out there and pitching. So in terms of how, you know, what pitch to throw and when, as an overall rule, I like to have guys be able to master a fastball and throw to a location and learn how to use that. And that, you know, and that, if you're monitored properly, is not going to put you at any greater risk. Now, in terms of the other pitches, now we're talking about, instead of parallel parking and driving on a side street with no other cars, you say, okay, I want to throw a curveball. Well, now you're in traffic a little bit. You got to know the rules of the road. You got to know what you're doing. And so a proper curveball is not going to affect a player. I mean, it's somewhat of what I've looked into as far as the research. Some of it's anecdotal, some of it's you know, that kind of thing. But for me, I think the primary thing with those more specialized pitches is just that if you're 11, 12, 13 years old and you can throw a curveball, you're going to make a lot of outs, because there ain't a lot of 12, 13-year-olds that hit curveballs. So now, if I'm a dad, coach, what have you, and I've got a kid who throws one of these, nice little curveball, he's going to get a chance to pitch because he can get outs and win games for us. So now it becomes something of throwing curveballs, but it also becomes the guy with the curveball has a lot more volume of pitches. So now we go back to the pitch count issue where you say, okay, how many pitches do you want this kid to throw in the span of a week? Well, the kid with the good curveball is going to pitch as much as possible. And the one who's, you know, doesn't throw the curveball maybe doesn't get as much pitching time. So now you say, is it the curveball that's messing the arms up, or is it the volume of pitches and the usage in terms of the frequency as well? So for my part, it's like, you know, I know there's a lot of good information. There's a lot of misinformation in terms of how to teach these things. So so that's part of the problem. The other part of the problem is if you have somebody who is good at it, they're going to get a lot more volume, and you have to really monitor that. So and then that's sort of an overview. But then on the micro level, what I like to do, because I'll get kids who are in little league or high school kids or whatever, and they want to learn this pitch. You know, if I've got a 10-year-old that says, teach me how to throw a curveball, I say, okay, tell you what, you throw 10 strikes in a row, I'll teach you how to throw a curveball. Okay, all right. Boom, strike one. Ball. Oh, sorry, you didn't throw 10 in a row. Try it again. Strike, strike. You know, they can get 3 or 4 in a row before they airmail one. And I'm like, okay, well, why are we going on the freeway if you can't even drive on a side street yet? And they're like, all right, okay. Now go practice your fastball, son. So that's, to me, that's the easiest thing to just, not put the kids in their place, but to just get them to understand that things go from simple to complex, from, uh, easy to more challenging, all that sort of thing. So yeah, it's,
No, I like how you said that. That makes sense. I like that. That's a very good way of putting it, because like you hear all the time, and that's something, my kids don't play baseball. I didn't play baseball growing up, so I don't personally know. But, when you see like all the major league baseball players, pitch one day and then they off 5 days. Obviously, I'm sure they throw somewhere in between, but they're not pitching. I mean, in a game pitching. And then you see these kids who are pitching every day. Last week there was the whole hullabaloo about that kid who was pitching 90 pitches in one game in 2 innings, 2.2 innings. And then he pitched another, whatever it was, the next day. And it's like, what the hell? Kershaw pitches one every 5 days, right? And again, I'm sure he throws in between, but it's not the same thing as in a game. But yet kids are allowed to throw 90, 100 pitches every day. That's just nuts.
well, yeah, and again, it's the same thing as related to anything else. Like if you put it to, let's say a personal trainer working out a pitcher in the gym, your variables are going to be frequency, repetitions, weight, and then you add to a game situation, and you're going to add mental and physical stress on top of them trying to perform this skill and the amount of repetitions that they put in. And then you think, okay, other variables that go into it are, what's the kid's age? What kind of functional strength do they have? What kind of pitching mechanics do they have? I mean, those 3 things right there, put simply, functional strength, mechanics, and volume of pitches and workload. Those are the 3 things that somebody managing pitchers has to pay attention to. So, and then it becomes an issue of the knowledge of the coach. Because if you have a coach who doesn't know what good pitching mechanics looks like, well, then he can't judge whether or not a kid has good mechanics or not, and that variable dictates how much he can pitch. So then, but then they also are coming out with, or they have come out with for the longest time, pitch count guidelines, which, who knows, whatever amount that those things are followed, but at least they have some guideline where if I'm a little league coach, but I don't know how functionally strong my players are, I don't know anything about pitching mechanics, but I have a piece of paper from the league that says this kid can only throw 50 pitches in one game, and then he needs 3 days off before he can go pitch in a game again. Well, that's helps. That's definitely of value, especially to the kid's health. So, and these things are trying to push back against the amount of misinformation or lack of information that's out there. And, and then you end up hearing these stories where this stuff is violated. But I think for the most part, I think, Little League Baseball, high school baseball have all put out these guidelines that help to keep players from getting overused. And then we can talk for hours and dip into motivation of coaches and what they're trying to do for the team and what their values are, if they value just winning games, if they value player development, if they value keeping their kids healthy. All these factors are all swirling around in the equation.
how was it for you when you were growing up? Did you have, like, how were your coaches? Did you get hurt? Did you have people pressuring you? How was it for you?
No, I didn't have pressure, and, knock on wood, I was, healthy my whole career and never had any arm issues. When I was probably from age, like I started pitching in Little League at age 10, and, started into high school. And I mean, from age 10 to age 16, I lived in New Mexico. And so it got cold there. So the weather kind of helps you to not put too much use on your arm. So, I mean, our Little League season was like 12 or 15 games. And then I got on a plane and went to LA to visit my grandparents. And then I just played out in the street with my friends, kept it going. But, but for me, it was, there wasn't really an opportunity to put too much volume, because we had, 2 games a week maybe for, 6 or 8 weeks, and then it was over. And then, I moved to California, and all of a sudden it's December and it's sunny and 72, and we're out on the field practicing, and I'm throwing bullpens, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. So for me, it was just like, I would go and do a full practice and throw my bullpen, and then we'd leave practice and go back over to the house and play wiffle ball for another couple hours. So, we didn't really get into situations where it was like, oh, this is too much. It was more like, we can't get enough of this. And so, never necessarily ran into that issue. I know a few guys around me that would get sore arms and get hurt, but I mean, it was not so much of an issue, and like I said, when we played our high school season, and and then there was, a few more months during the summer. Even when I was playing summer teams like American Legion or other stuff like that, I never had an issue where I was like, oh, I'm really sore, I can't pitch today. It was always like, get me in there, man. I'm ready. Let's go. So, and even if I had started a game and gone 7 innings and come back and said to the guy the next day, hey, I can still pitch, they'd been like, no, you pitched yesterday, we got another guy. So I don't know. I didn't have that issue, but I see a lot of players that are, carrying this, like here they have a high school season that goes to the beginning of June, and then they have travel ball that goes through, July, and then they break for August and have family time. And then some players come back in the fall, which is a little bit lighter too. I mean, I coached some fall travel teams here that were one practice midweek, a couple games on Saturday, and that was it. So, there was less of a chance to abuse anybody at that point. So the only way that you could overuse a guy was in a single game, if you let him go 100 and 110, 120 pitches or something like that. But usually that doesn't happen, because you have enough guys, and you have, guys will start to falter during the game before they get to that high of a pitch count. So you just get them out of there anyway. So, but I'm definitely acknowledging that it's an issue. And I know there's a lot of guys that are really conscious of it out there nowadays. And then you hear, of course, the stories of a few here and there that'll, abuse things or whatever.
And ruin it for everybody else.
Yeah, maybe so. And I mean, I also think too that you got to listen to the players, and listen to and keep an eye on them, because there are little signs you see as a coach. If the guy's pitching and he throws a pitch and you see him, rotating his arm or kind of feeling at his elbow or something, you're like, okay, he's trying to tell us something without saying it, and we got to get somebody going here. But yeah, I mean, I know you got to get feedback nonverbal of what a player's doing, and of course every time they come in, you're like, how you feeling? Everything good? And and then you learn your players, because some of them will be just tough it out and not say anything, and some of them they'll let you know if they're arms hurting or they're feeling a little tired or whatever. And I try to be as conservative as possible on that stuff, because again, like if you're dealing with coaches and whatever their values are, I mean, arm health is big for me, so I'm always trying to be conscious of that too.
How are parents when you tell them that their kid shouldn't pitch that day or should take a break or stuff like that?
I don't remember offhand ever having to tell a parent that we need to back off. Like, some of them will come in and ask if their sons could pitch more, and most of the time though, it's like I try and be careful with these sorts of things, and it's important to have a logical and useful response to anything. Like, hey, why is he not pitching? Why is he pitching this much? Why did you take him out of the game when you did? And if you know what you're doing and have a little experience in dealing with this sorts of things, then you do things that you have a response to. And I'm not, especially at the amateur level, I'm not about to risk a kid's health to win a game. And even if they want to stay in there, sometimes it's like, no, it's time to get you out of there, give it somebody else a shot, because there's a huge array of reasons why you would make any kind of moves. But again, it comes down to what you value as a coach. And for me, the health has always been big.
Well, one can hope that health is number one for most coaches, but we all know, unfortunately, that's not always the case. So if you had to give advice to a kid today, what would that be? Like, when to start, when not to start, how much to play other sports, what would you tell them?
That's a little bit of a broad question. I mean, my first thought in response to that would just be, do the sports that you enjoy. I mean, that's the beginning of it. If you're going to go out and grind it out playing baseball year round, but you get tired of it or you don't really enjoy it, it's like, go play some basketball, go pick up a hockey stick, go play some tennis, go hit a golf ball, whatever it is. But and I'm definitely big on cross training with different sports and different skill sets and all that sort of thing. So for me, it'd be like, look, if you're having fun doing it and your body can handle it, go for it. If you're having fun playing ball, and then in the fall you want to play soccer, get out there on the soccer field and chase the ball around too, because that's great. Or play, they had an ice hockey team at the high school where I was coaching before. So and again, some of it is just me looking back on my own experience where like I said, we'd go to baseball practice, come home and play some more baseball, get the wiffle ball out, go out in the street and play some more, because this is what we wanted to do. So so I guess the short version of it is just have some fun, and enjoy it.
Well, I think that pretty much sums it up. Where for kids, if they don't have any fun, they're not going to stick around. And we have to help kids have more fun and make it less about winning games and more about enjoying themselves. Because I think that if you enjoy yourself, eventually you'll start winning a lot more than you lose.
Yeah, and you also don't want to miss out on things like like dealing with adversity. If you go out there and you have a bad day or something, you got to figure out how to pick yourself up. You got to figure out how to be a good teammate. You got to figure out how to learn how much your body can handle. If it's if you need to back off, or if you can push it a little more, you need to it's a whole array of skill sets and really good lessons that the game gives you that you want to cultivate, more or less. You want to be able to you're going to have a team with at least 10 or 15 different personalities on there that once you step away from the baseball field, you're going to have to deal with those same personalities again. And you learn how to socialize, you learn how to compete, you learn how to handle any kind of adversity, because my goodness, baseball's going to throw it at you for sure.
Yes, and at least one time you're going to get lit up like a Christmas tree. So that happens to everybody.
Yeah,
even the greats get lit up.
Yeah, you hang around enough,
you're bound to have a bad day. So Pat, I just wanted to thank you so much, because I know I can go on for another hour, but I don't want to take too much of your time. So I really do appreciate your help and your time to talk to us. And I really look forward to coming and meet up with you in person once we can travel again. Yeah,
that'll be great, for sure. Thank you, man. This is fun. This is fun. Really good.
That really was. I really, really was. And, hey, like I said, I know nothing about coaching or playing baseball, but I enjoy watching it. So I learned a lot. So thank you.
Sure thing. Yeah.
And go Mets. No, I'm kidding. The Mets and the Dodgers in the championship. I see it. I can see the future.
Well, if we keep all the cheaters out, then we're good. So that'll be fair.
Oh yeah.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you one thing though. It's whenever the Dodgers or with my wife, the Red Sox come around to town, we'll go and check out a game, and it's a much nicer experience. And this is not even me as a Dodgers fan who is against the Yankees the whole time, but going to Citi Field, just being in Citi Field is really nice, and it's a little bit nicer experience than going to Yankee Stadium. Although I will say at Yankee Stadium they have a vendor that sells this. It's basically just a skewer with this really thick bacon on it, and it's the bacon at Yankee Stadium makes it worth going there. But other than that, no.
All I gotta say is Dodger dogs.
Oh yeah,
Dodger dog.
You can't beat it. Can't beat it.
Cannot beat the Dodger dog. I'm sorry, and I'm not even a Dodger fan, but those Dodger dogs are the bomb.
Yeah, it's Farmer John all the way. It's good stuff.
I know. All right, Pat. Well, thank you so much, and we'll touch base again.
Okay, cool. All right.
All right, man. Thank you.